I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me.
All right, so to begin with, it's a pretty harsh statement to suggest that a running shoe can kill you. And I'm not one to go out on a limb and make false claims, but listen to this story. And I believe that in order for anyone to draw buy-in for any particular topic, it always should be prefaced with a good story. So I've got one for you. So some years ago, I was contacted by a production company out of Hollywood, and they were interested in creating a film, actually a documentary, of an athlete climbing the 7 summits, which are the steepest mountain ranges in the world, 7 of them. And for those of you that are not familiar with the concept, in order to climb Mount Everest, it's a multi-month project all by itself. The conditioning, the adaptation that's required to get up on that mountain is just crazy. And then there's what they refer to as the dead zone, which is once you get over 20,000 feet. And once you get over that 20,000 foot mark, if you are not prepared to continue, there's a very high likelihood that you could lose your life. These guys come to me and we set out to do some assessments to find out whether this individual is fit enough in order to take on this challenge. So we're going to do a series of tests. First one being a VO2 max test. And as we get him up on the treadmill and we begin the project, about a minute or two in, he has to stop because he's got knee pain. And I noticed when he walked in the shoes he was wearing. I didn't say anything about it, but after a few minutes of trying to run, we had to stop. So we took a look at it. In the close-up image I'm providing, you'll see that he wrote on the side of the shoe, after we did all our assessments, that I saved his life. And what he's referring to is he realized that if he continued to train in those shoes, he'd continue to be injured, and the likelihood that he'd have a problem once he got up on the mountain was very, very likely. So we got him out of those shoes, we put him in something a little bit more neutral, we worked on his running mechanics, and things started to improve. But that's not really what the story is here today, but that's the setup. As you can see in this shoe, it's an elevated heel, and it's got these little propulsion looking shock absorber deals on the bottom. And the idea being that, well, people land on their heels when they run, they overstride, they need something to try to break up that ground contact. So they put those little cushions there to see if that would solve the problem. And then, years later, I was brought on by a company to create a marketing position for a new running shoe they created. And that's this. And this shoe is essentially the polar opposite of what the other shoe was. This is encouraging you to land on your forefoot. The other shoe was encouraging you to land on your heel. This actually has, as you can see, kind of a diving board, a springboard in the front of the shoe. And so even when you're sitting neutral on the ground, your heel is elevated off of the ground and you're basically putting all the load on that spring. The intent being, obviously enough, to encourage you to land on your forefoot. So what is it? Do we land on our forefoot? Do we land on our heel? Do we need a cushion in the front? Do we need a cushion in the back? It's just a mess. So here's where I'm going with all this. I'm not about to endorse any particular style of shoe or any brand of shoe, but what I am going to suggest to you is that the running shoe companies at large, they have one interest, which is to sell shoes. And whatever marketing position they can create around a design is paramount to the success of that sale or otherwise. So commonly we'll tie an athlete to a shoe, some elite athlete that everybody looks up to, and we put him in a pair of shoes, and oh, lo and behold, he's successful because he's wearing that pair of shoes. Truth of the matter is, he probably would have been successful if he was running barefoot, quite honestly. The consumers at large are duped We're led to believe that any particular design is going to benefit you, reduce your injuries, enhance your performance, and all of the other gobbledygook that they're trying to sell you on. And the running shoe manufacturers come up with this selling proposition. They offer it up to the major retailers and they say, okay, this is how you sell this shoe. And then the commentary that follows is, okay, this is going to offer you stability. This is going to offer you cushion. This one's going to do this or that for you. And at the end of the day, it's been proven on many different occasions that a running shoe will not solve the problems you face with injuries. If you want to solve that problem, you've got to correct the way you move. So I want to conclude this with just this final thought. Number one, when you get a shoe, the prime purpose of that shoe is to protect your foot. You don't need a tremendous amount of protection. You don't need this massive stack height to protect you. If you feel like you need to get into that massive stack height, there's probably something wrong with the way you're running. I'm 70 years old and I'm wearing a pair of minimal shoes at the moment. I'm not going to show you what the brand is. And there's virtually nothing there beneath me other than just enough rubber to keep me from harm's way. If I step on a piece of glass, if I step on a rock, I'm going to be okay. But that's all I need. I don't need the shoe to teach me how to run, correct my problems, or otherwise. The other thing that I look for in a shoe, if you're going to laundry list, is I want a shoe with a broad toe box. And it just really slays me to think, and I don't know where it started, but the concept of putting your big toe, most prominent toe, in the middle. I don't know about you, but my toe is off to the side here. It is not in the middle. I hope yours isn't in the middle. So drawing this taper to the front of the shoe, the forefoot like this, when you start running, those toes will get crowded. And that's going to bring on inflammation. And that's potentially going to cause stress in those metatarsals. And it's also going to inhibit the functionality of your foot. So if the shoe gets in your way, that's not the shoe for you.